Imagine a quiet gallery in Paris. The hum of a museum past closing. Lamplight falling on a slab of cold marble. Greek letters carved into the surface, sharp and patient, exactly as the day they were cut. A decree. From a Caesar whose name was never inscribed. And the punishment, repeated in measured legal language, is death. This is the Nazareth Inscription. According to Wikipedia, it is a marble tablet inscribed in Greek with an edict from an unnamed Caesar ordering capital punishment for anyone caught disturbing graves or tombs. The stone was acquired from Nazareth by a French collector, and although its exact provenance is unknown, the link to that town is part of what has made it one of the most discussed Roman legal artifacts of the 20th century. It entered the French National Collection in 1878. It was published, decades later, by the Belgian historian Frans Cumont in 1930. And on the basis of epigraphy, on the shape and style of its Greek letters, the inscription is dated to the first half of the 1st century AD. The dating most accepted by scholars places it in the reign of the Emperor Claudius, between the years 41 and 54 AD. A fresh analysis by Kyle Harper, published in the Journal of Near Eastern Studies in 2023, supports that Claudian attribution. A Roman emperor, possibly Claudius himself, issuing a death penalty for opening a tomb. Carved in Greek. Acquired from Nazareth. The town that the Gospels name as the home of Jesus. For nearly 100 years, historians have stood in front of this stone and asked the same question. Not whether the inscription is real, it is, and you can see it for yourself in Paris. The question is why. The Nazareth inscription does not have the kind of grand discovery story that defines the most famous archaeological finds. There is no expedition, no team of archaeologists, no documented dig. There is only an acquisition, and an absence. In 1878, the tablet entered the French National Collection, acquired from Nazareth. The exact location within or near the town has never been documented. Its provenance is unknown. We are told only that a French collector acquired the stone from Nazareth. We do not know which house, which field, which ruin gave it up. We do not know if it had been seen by locals for generations, used as a doorstep or a bench, or whether it was recently uncovered. The stone arrived in France carrying its inscription, but not its biography. For more than 50 years after its acquisition, the inscription sat in collection without entering the scholarly mainstream. That changed in 1930. In that year, Frans Cumont published the inscription. His paper, titled Unrescrit impérial sur la violation de sépulture, appeared in the journal Revue Historique. The publication transformed an obscure object into a focal point of debate about Roman law, the early imperial period, and, almost immediately, because of the location from which it had been acquired, about the historical context of early Christianity. The tablet today is held in the collections of the Louvre. It is not the kind of artifact that draws crowds. There is no king's name on it, no famous battle, no decorative relief. It is a marble slab dense with Greek letters, the kind of object that requires patience and translation. And yet what is carved on it, according to Wikipedia, is an edict from an unnamed Caesar, Roman imperial law. Dated, by epigraphy, to the first half of the 1st century AD. A century that is not vague. A century that brackets the lifetime of a man crucified in Jerusalem, and the rise of the movement that took his name. What does the inscription actually say? According to Wikipedia, the text is an edict from an unnamed Caesar ordering capital punishment for anyone caught disturbing graves or tombs. That single sentence carries the entire weight of the artifact's significance. The Greek term commonly translated edict, or rescript, carries the formal authority of Roman imperial law, the kind of decree that, in the empire of the 1st century, was issued from the highest level of government and posted publicly to make the legal expectation unambiguous. The Caesar is not named. This is one of the most distinctive features of the inscription, and one of the most debated. The dating, then, is not established by signature but by the shape and style of the Greek letters, by the way the strokes are cut, by the conventions of the carving, by the comparative evidence of other inscriptions whose dates are known. By that method, the stone is placed in the first half of the 1st century AD. Within that window, the most accepted dating among scholars points to the reign of Claudius, between 41 and 54 AD. In 2023, a fresh analysis by Kyle Harper, published in the Journal of Near Eastern Studies, supported the Claudian dating. The 2012 study by W. Clarisse and S. Shears, The Nazareth Inscription Reconsidered, published from Leuven, continued the academic conversation, examining the text once again with the tools of a later generation of scholarship. Imagine a small workshop somewhere in the early 1st century. Marble dust on the floor. The chisel ringing against stone. A clerk, perhaps, dictating from a written copy. Each letter committed with the patience of a man who knows the text he is cutting will outlast him. A decree intended to be read, posted, obeyed. Capital punishment, death, for moving a body from a tomb. That is the part the reader returns to. Roman imperial law, in the first half of the 1st century AD, making the disturbance of graves and tombs a capital crime. The decree, on its face, does not name a victim. It does not name a region in its surviving text. It does not name a year. And yet the stone was acquired from Nazareth, a town whose name barely appears in non-Christian sources from the period, but which the Gospels identify as the home of Jesus. This is the gap that has held the attention of historians for nearly a century. A Roman imperial decree. Capital punishment. Tomb disturbance. Acquired from the town, the Gospels associate with the central figure of a movement whose earliest, most disruptive claim, circulating within decades of his execution, was that his body had been removed from a tomb, and that the tomb had been found empty. And yet the stone itself is more honest than most secondary commentary about what it does not say. Its provenance is unknown. We are told only that a French collector acquired it from Nazareth, and the exact circumstances of its discovery, the room, the ruin, the field, have not been documented. We do not know if the stone was carved for Nazareth, or whether it was carried there from somewhere else and abandoned. A piece of imperial legislation, in Greek, could in principle have been posted in any provincial city across the Eastern Empire. The Nazareth connection is real, but it is an acquisition link, not a documented archaeological context. The Caesar is unnamed. The dating to the reign of Claudius, between 41 and 54 AD, is the most accepted, but the question is not formally closed. The dating rests on epigraphy, on the shape of the letters and the conventions of the carving. The 2023 analysis by Kyle Harper in the Journal of Near Eastern Studies argues for the Claudian attribution, and the 2012 reconsideration by Clarisse and Shears continued the discussion, but the academic conversation does not end with a single accepted answer. The inscription does not mention Jesus. It does not mention Christians. It does not mention Judea by name in the portion that the verified record preserves. It does not state the cause of the decree, nor the incident that may have triggered it. It is, in legal terms, a general edict, a prohibition against an act, with a punishment attached. To read more than that off the stone is to add interpretation that the stone itself does not supply. What the artifact offers, in the end, is silent evidence, an imperial decree, in Greek, threatening death for disturbing tombs, acquired from Nazareth, dated by epigraphy to the first half of the 1st century AD. Everything else, every reason, every connection, every implication, must be argued, not read off the stone. This is where historians have to be careful. The Nazareth inscription is not a confession from Rome. It is not a footnote attached to the Gospels. It is a piece of stone carrying a piece of law. And the question of why a Roman emperor in the early or mid-1st century AD would issue a death penalty decree against tomb disturbance, and why such a stone would surface, centuries later, acquired from Nazareth, is precisely the question that the stone itself does not answer. Historians have noted that Roman imperial law often responded to specific incidents. Imperial rescripts, the formal answer of an emperor to a question or dispute brought to his attention, were a routine instrument of governance. The Nazareth inscription, according to Wikipedia, is exactly such an instrument, an edict from an unnamed Caesar. Whether the trigger for this particular decree was a famous case, a local dispute, or a general concern about a growing problem in the provinces, the stone does not say. What can be said is what the verified record allows. A marble tablet, inscribed in Greek, was acquired from Nazareth by a French collector and entered the French national collection in 1878. It was published in 1930 by Franz Cumont, under the title Unrescrit impérial sur la violation de sépulture, in Revue historique. It is now in the collections of the Louvre. Its dating, by epigraphy, falls within the first half of the 1st century AD, with the reign of Claudius, 41 to 54 AD, the most accepted attribution among scholars, reinforced in 2023 by Kyle Harper's analysis in the Journal of Near Eastern Studies and discussed in the 2012 reconsideration by Clarisse and Shears. And the decree, on its face, makes the disturbance of graves and tombs a capital crime. That is the value of the artifact. It is not a proof. It is a presence. A Roman reaction, carved in stone, in roughly the right century, in roughly the right region, on exactly the right subject. The rest is for historians, and viewers, to weigh. Why was this decree issued? Was it routine, the kind of standard prohibition against an ancient and common crime that any administration eventually puts to paper? Was it triggered by a specific event in the eastern provinces, some report that reached the emperor's desk and demanded a response? Did the stone have anything to do with the small town of Nazareth, or did it simply travel there at some point in the centuries between the carver's chisel and the French collector's purchase? The stone does not answer. The names are missing. The reason is missing. The biography of the artifact, between the workshop of the carver and the museum gallery in Paris, is missing. What remains is the artifact itself, a marble tablet, Greek text, an unnamed emperor, capital punishment for moving a body from a tomb, acquired from a town whose name the Gospels attach to a man named Jesus. Historians have argued about this stone for nearly a century. Kyle Harper has argued for the Claudian dating again, in 2023. Clarisse and Shears reconsidered the inscription in 2012. Franz Cumont introduced it to the world in 1930. The tablet itself entered the French collection in 1878. The question that the inscription leaves open is the question that any honest reader can sit with. In the first half of the 1st century AD, in a Roman Empire that stretched across the world, what was it about a body, in a tomb, that an emperor felt the need to address, in marble?